Parents of Reddit, what's the best child hack you've figured out to make your life as a parent easier?
Saw one on Reddit where if you want to enjoy some time undisturbed, tell your kids that you're taking a nap, and when you wake up all of you are going to do chores together. They'll want to let you sleep as long as possible to avoid doing housework. So they'll leave you alone to actually nap or do other things like read.
You just made me realize my parents outsmarted me every weekend of my childhood.
I told my kid her ears turn red when she tells a lie. Now she covers her ears when she lies. She is almost 7 and it still works.
Kinda reminds me of how my dad told my sister that eating bread crusts gives you the ability to whistle. She ate her crust religiously after he started telling her that, but still can't whistle. She found out the truth when she was like 15 and told someone she didn't think she started eating crusts early enough in life for it to make her able to whistle, and they were confused as fuck.
If you have a hard time getting them to eat their vegetables, give them before the dinner, because that's when they are hungry and will eat almost anything. Give them some carrots and cucumbers in a glass, which is a great snack.
Giving veggies first is an awesome idea. I'll sometimes give him a bowl of salad while we wait for the meat to finish cooking, and they will eat much more salad than they would if they were given it at the same time as everything else. Veggie sticks with hummus or other healthy dip are also an awesome thing to give them.
Be mindful of how you phrase questions. Example: instead of "Do you want a hot dog for supper?" ask "What do you want on your hot dog?" If your kid's a dick, it won't matter, but it will help at most situations.
If I tell my 3-year-old to go potty, he will buckle down and refuse to go. If I tell him to go put pee in the potty, or that we will go to the park after there is pee in the potty, off he goes to use the toilet. There have been enough situations like that I wonder if all the remaining conflicts and meltdowns are just because I'm not clever enough to figure out the right way to say it at the time. Or maybe there are a lot of kids out there getting in trouble for being bad, but those kids are the same as everyone else. But their parents aren't figuring out the right way to phrase things. It can take a lot of mental gymnastics to make a kid think that putting on shoes and eating breakfast is their idea.
To get a newborn to burp, sit them on your knee, holding them under their armpits, and move their upper bodies in a circle several times. Like a reverse hula move, I guess. I learned it from a neonatal nurse. And it's almost infallible. So much faster and more reliable than regular burping.
This saved me so many times. It was almost like magic. The baby would be crying painfully, a higher, more urgent cry, and I'd do the swirl a couple times. Pat, burp, and instant silence. It didn't work every time, but most of the time.
If you threaten a consequence, follow through 100% of the time. Kids will test boundaries at every age. You just have to make it appropriate for their age group. If you throw sand again, we are leaving the beach, you must leave the beach. If you don't clean your room, no screen time tomorrow, no screen time. The key is to make the consequences not impact you to the point that you don't want to follow through, since it will ruin your day too. A hard line to toe. But boy, do boundaries and trust work. Kids will always test boundaries 100%. But that doesn't mean you go full force consequence every time. This is different than giving a consequence every time. You can explain why you don't want them to throw the sand first. Talk to them about why they threw it. Take them in the water for a bit. But if you threaten to leave the beach once all of those things fail, you have to follow through. A teen breaking curfew once is not a take away your phone and computer and you're grounded for 3 months consequence. But maybe the 12th time is.
A teen breaking curfew once is not a take away your phone and computer and you're grounded for 3 months consequence. But maybe the 12th time is. This is very true. My school's policy is ask first, tell second, consequences third. So on a first offense, we say something like, "Timmy, please put the scissors away. It is not time for cutting paper." Second time is, "Timmy, you need to put the scissors away." Or else third time is the consequence. We also have a discussion tool for misbehaving students, where we ask them these questions. What are you doing? What should you be doing? What's going to happen if you do it again? And of course you follow up with the consequence if they do the behavior again.
Denny's is where I teach them restaurant etiquette. Zero pressure and light on the wallet.
As an adult Denny's patron with no kids. Good for you. No complaints. It's a Denny's. Sorry if your kid has seen me drunk.
If they are cranky, put them in water. I have teenagers. This is still the method that I use. Even having them wash their hands or face does wonders. To be fair, I do it with my husband too. So really, I guess it's just works for humans.
I feel like you are the mom who carries a small spray bottle in her purse.
My kids didn't understand the difference between different days. For example, we'll go to the store in 3 days. So my husband started calling it sleeps. Now we say we'll go to the store in 3 sleeps. Also, offer a choice. Do you want to put your shoes on first or brush your hair first? It short-circuits their tendency to fight you and makes them feel like they're making their own decisions. Which they are. Make sure the options listed are ones you're okay with though.
I do the choices thing with my nieces. It always made sense to me to talk to them like that. Nobody likes being told what to do. Very rarely does the older one, 9, catch on and refuse. And even then, she caves after I say you gotta pick one. But those are the options. It 100% helps that their parents aren't shitty and actually parent their kids.
Learn to say thank you and I'm sorry to them. It makes you closer and helps your relationship with them no matter what age. Experiences are better than things. Waking up before them makes the day a lot easier. Find a way to see them when you're driving.
When mine were younger, say, 3 or 4, and it was close to time to stop playing at the park or in the pool, I always gave them plenty of warning using a concrete timeline that they could understand. Instead of saying we're leaving soon or 5 more minutes, I would tell them something like, okay, let me see you jump in the pool. 7 more jumps and we're leaving. Sometimes the number was higher, but never less than 5. Less than 5 was always met with come on, just 1 more, which usually wasn't allowed. 7 or more was always such a big number that they seemed to get their fill and were ready to go when it was time.
Not a parent, but a daycare worker. And I learned this through Reddit. If a child is having a meltdown, ask what color their shoes/shirts/pants/whatever clothing they're wearing are. This distracts the child long enough to stop them in the midst of their meltdown because they haven't thought about what they're wearing. I used this trick twice on a kid today who was just having a terrible day. Calm them right down.
My wife and I came up with a short unique whistle that both kids knew meant come here to us. Works in malls, water parks, or just to come in and clean up for dinner. Fellow parents were amazed by this. Teach them early.
My wife and I use a really loud and obnoxious bird call. Once we got past the embarrassment of calling loud in public, it became a great way to find each other, similar to your whistle.
Let your baby watch you fall asleep. If it's their bedtime, don't play on your phone or read a book. They are following your lead. So be boring. Close your eyes. And be still and quiet. And they will learn to.
If you have a toddler who likes to get naked when they're supposed to be sleeping, you can cut the feet off of footy pajamas and put them on them backwards, with the zipper on their back, and then they won't be able to get them off.
Baby straitjacket TM.
Bubbles. Seriously magical. For especially long car rides or traffic or just for fun. Keep some bubbles up front, cup holder ideally. Turn on the AC or fan. Hold bubble wand up and instant stream of happiness. I've found myself doing this alone in cranky traffic jams and open the windows to spread the mirth and glee. Also, have tiny bubble bottles, like wedding favor sized, and easy to share with others in need out and about.
I had 3 kids very close in age. At one point I assigned them each a day of the week, they each got 2 and Sunday was the leftover, whatever the question was. The answer was, whose day is it? Who gets to go first? Who gets to ride in the front? Who has to take their bath first? I saved so many arguments with this.
When my kids were little, my wife worked at a health club and I would take the kids swimming in the evening. We'd always pack their PJs for their clothes they'd change into after swimming. That way, they got out of the pool, showered, and changed into pajamas. They didn't always go to bed right when we got home, but they were always ready for bed when we got home. It was my wife's idea.
Listen to them. Seriously. They have a lot of good ideas.
When your kid sees something they want, like a toy or game, and you can't/don't want to buy it, tell them to put it on the list. If they're the type of kid that will follow through, then you have a handy list for Christmas or birthdays. If not, then they'll forget about it. Helps avoid arguments in the store because you aren't really saying no.
Teach them how to express their feelings and validate them when they do.
Mother of 2 teenagers. Don't just listen but ask. Ask questions that can't be answered with a yes or no. Then follow up with a few more questions about the answers given. And before you know it, they are talking to you without trying. Example. I don't ask my kids how was your day? I ask something very specific, like I see you are reading certain book in class. I don't think I read that. What's it about? They generally give me a brief rundown, so I follow up with maybe, do you have to do a project on it? What ideas do you have? Things like that. After 1 or 2 questions like that, they just keep talking about the class. Then the class after or before, then I know their whole day. They've gotten so used to just conversing with me. I don't have to try that hard to get the ball rolling anymore, unlike some of my friends who are amazed my teenage kids actually talk to me. Also, those conversation starter questions are a great go-to. At dinner, no one is allowed a phone. Even us adults. So I have a list of conversation starters and just start asking, and everyone has to answer the question. Oftentimes we'll only get to the 2nd or 3rd question before we've moved on to a totally different and offbeat topic. Having a really great and fun conversation about something random. Like, is a hamburger a sandwich or its own thing? Or is Indiana Jones central to his own storyline? You know, the important stuff.